Have you been hit in the head? Saw a bright blue light. That's the best way to describe my crossing. If you ever see that light between your eyes, that's the way to heaven. It happened when I was 32 years old. It was a weekend afternoon and I was riding my motorcycle to a friend's house. I was riding my motorcycle and enjoying the roadside scenery. Little did I know that danger was approaching me. A car that ran a red light suddenly came out from the side of the road and collided violently with me. I was knocked out of the way. I lost my balance and kept rolling on the ground, hitting the ground and objects around me. I felt a strong pain and my consciousness began to blur. I struggled to get up, but my body was out of control. A beautiful aura flashed in front of my eyes. A strong heat wrapped around me, and the blue light was all around me. I didn't know what was happening or what to expect. My soul was floating in the air and I felt like I had entered a whole new realm. At this time, I was confused about my existence and everything around me. Suddenly, I heard a voice that kept calling my name. The voice was very soft, as if it came from a faraway place. The voice told me to stop struggling because I was badly hurt. It would take me to another safe place. My pain also gradually disappeared. I followed the light, moving upward quickly until I couldn't see anything below me. I felt very light, as if I were flying. Everything around me became brighter. I began to feel a sense of existence that transcended time and space, as if I were one with the entire universe. I looked up ahead and saw a step, which was paved with golden stones. Filled with curiosity and excitement, I took the first step without hesitation, and when I walked up the first step, I felt very comfortable. The second step quickly appeared under my feet. When I took another step, a new step appeared again. It was a wonderful feeling. I didn't feel tired, and I kept walking up the steps. Eventually, I came to a beautiful place with a spectacular view all around. There was a vast grassland in front of me, and in the distance was a rolling mountain range. Here, I felt calm and free from any worries. I walked forward a little way and I saw a clear stream. Wildflowers were growing around it, and butterflies were fluttering among the flowers. I continued along the creek. I found some small animals. They were very friendly and not a bit aggressive. A bridge appeared in front of me. On the left side of the bridge was a huge building built of white stone. It emitted a dazzling light. It looked very bright there, emitting a warm glow as if it could chase away all the darkness. I gazed at the building and felt an aura of grandeur and sacredness. I took a deep breath and began to step onto that bridge. I walked in the direction of that building. As I approached it, I noticed a few details. It had ornate decorations and each stone had been carefully carved. As I walked through the doors, I felt like I had entered a different world. There was beautiful music and an atmosphere that made me feel calm. I saw many people living there. Some were laughing, some were chatting. They all had happy smiles on their faces. I walked through the crowd and saw familiar faces. My father, grandmother, and uncle. They all looked very energetic. The first person who spoke to me was my father. He asked me, "Son, what are you doing up there?" I replied, "I don't know, I just remember that there was a traffic accident and I came here." He reassured me, "Don't worry, you're safe here. You have come to heaven." I was very surprised and could not believe that I had come to heaven. So I said to my father, "You are really lucky to live here." My father smiled and said to me, "When you finish your work, you can live here too." He also told me that in heaven, everyone is free to choose the way they want to live. I saw a bright light in the distance, shining with an alluring glow. I wanted to get closer to see it more clearly. But my grandmother blocked me. In a gentle tone, she told me, "Son, it's not time for you to go there yet." I was a little upset and I tried to get closer again, but this time my father stopped me. He said to me, "Son, you have to go back. Your time is not up yet." At this point, other family members came up to me and reassured me in gentle tones. They told me that although heaven was very beautiful, I still had many unfinished tasks that I needed to go back and complete. They said that when I finished my mission, I could come back here and enjoy eternal happiness. When I heard that I had to go back, I was very lost because I didn't want to leave this beautiful place. I told them that I didn't want to go back, I wanted to stay with you, and I didn't know how to go back. Suddenly, the bright light in the distance appeared above my head. It was like a giant flashlight illuminating my surroundings. I looked up and saw a man in a white robe appear in front of me. When I took a closer look, I realized it was Jesus. Jesus' face was filled with compassion and warmth. He patted my head gently with his hand and said, "My child, you have many important tasks to accomplish and you need to go back and get on with your life." I was so confused, I didn't know what task he was talking about. As if Jesus knew my doubts, he continued, "Your task is to pass on love and kindness, to help people in need, and to become a good person." I looked at Jesus and asked him, "Do I have a choice?" Jesus gently replied, "Of course." He also told me, I was very badly hurt and no one would blame me if I wanted to stay here. I pondered for a moment and then asked, "What will happen to my mother down there?" Jesus said, "Your mother will feel sad, and this state of sadness may stay with her for 5 years or for the rest of her life." I continued to ask, "And my wife, can you bring her up now?" Jesus smiled and said, "Your wife has a mission and a task to accomplish, and she needs to continue her life on earth." Then he gently placed his hand on my shoulder and gestured for me to look down. I looked down to the ground where my mother and the rest of my family were gathered together, looking very sad and lost. I knew they were grieving over my departure. I could feel their hearts and feel their grief and pain. Once again Jesus placed his hand on my shoulder and another image appeared to my left. Jesus told me, "This is the future life of your family." I saw my mother, who looked much older. Her thin body kept trembling, and her face wore sadness and frustration. She seemed to have lost hope in life. She stayed at home alone, no longer in contact with the outside world. My heart became heavy and I realized how hard my leaving had hit her. Then, I saw the scene of my daughter's wedding. My daughter was wearing a beautiful wedding dress and was elegantly preparing to walk into the wedding. She looked so beautiful and I was so proud of her. But I noticed that she had no family around her, and it made my heart ache as she walked down the aisle alone. My daughter has found a responsible man as her partner. I could also feel her love and trust in him. Then, I heard the prayers of my family. It was as if they were right there with me. They wanted me to come back to them. Their thoughts touched my heart deeply. I felt their love. The choice became easier and I walked up the steps. I told Jesus that I wanted to go back. He smiled at me and nodded. As I prepared to leave this beautiful place, I felt very mixed emotions. Jesus stood beside me and he let me know that I had made the right decision. I finally asked Jesus, "If I go back, then will I still experience the pain from the car accident?" Jesus patted me on the shoulder and said comfortingly, "You don't have to worry, I will give you a healthy body, but it will take some time." Hearing this, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude in my heart. Before I left, he said something encouraging: "You will face many difficulties and challenges on earth, but you will not be alone. I will always be by your side." Before I left, I also hugged my father goodbye. He reassured me, "Don't worry. We will be reunited here again." As I stood on the steps, they began to descend automatically, as smoothly as if I were riding an escalator. We crossed the roof and entered an operating room. I could see the doctors were operating on me. They wore masks and gloves and carefully operated the instruments and equipment. I felt a warm energy coming from behind me. I knew that Jesus was with me all the time. As Jesus put my soul back into my body, I felt every cell in my body vibrate. This feeling was very special and overwhelmed me with excitement and surprise. As time went on, I gradually regained consciousness and began to feel the changes in my body. I felt every inch of my muscles re-energizing and every cell rejuvenating. A few days later, the doctors were amazed at my recovery. They had previously thought I would be paralyzed with little hope of a cure. But only I knew that with the help of Jesus, I had regained a healthy body. I still miss my father occasionally. I know that in the near future, we will be reunited again. I have more important things to do now. I want to take care of my mother and wife and spend as much time with them as possible. Make them feel happy and content. And of course my daughter, I want to be with her on the day she gets married. I want to give her more love and support in her life, so that her life will be full of happiness and beauty. This experience has been a profound one for me. It has made me appreciate life more and be more grateful for each day. I pay more attention to the needs and feelings of people around me. I also became more conscious of my health and lifestyle. I started to focus on diet and exercise to keep my body healthy. I became more active in pursuing my dreams and cherished every opportunity in my life. This experience was a revelation to me and made me more determined to walk my own path in life.